Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. President Emmerson Mnangagwa has just given away 102 cars to the top brass in the army. This is just the first consignment, and altogether intends to give away 700. Ever since January this year, when Blessed Rune Sugeza and 2 or 3 of his fellow war veterans denounced Mnangagwa so-called 2030 agenda, in which he's trying to extend his stay in power beyond the stipulated 2-term limits, which is supposed to end in 2028. Mnangagwa has been very generous, to say the very least. His number one priority has been to buy favors from all those in Zimbabwe society whom he felt could help him push that 2030 agenda. He has been generous with giving away bicycles to the war veterans and cars galore to senior members of Zanu PF and party officials. He has started all manner of schemes to help various groups, but they all have one thing in common. These activities, all these expenses were designed to promote Mnangagwa. The glory of Caesar has overridden everything else in society. This doesn't make any sense at all. We've had reports, repeated reports, of how many hospitals, including provincial hospitals, even referral hospitals, are running out of medicine. They don't have ambulances. Schools are in a deplorable state. Roads are not being maintained. And yet all those things are being ignored while Mnangagwa is focusing on buying votes for himself. This doesn't make any sense at all. I think the people of Zimbabwe must be absolutely desperate now, because the country can simply not afford this kind of wastage of the nation's resources, focusing all of it on just securing somebody stay in power. How did we get here? Well, in one of the interviews that Dr. Simba Makoni gave in Talking with Trevor, he revealed how soon after independence, Mugabe started this culture of buying loyalty. Within a few months of getting into office, Dr. Makoni talks of how all the MPs, all the cabinet members received E-Class Mercedes-Benz. That's meant to be a bribe, of course. And how this has permeated in society. And now that has become the big thing in Zimbabwe. Political patronage and blind loyalty to the leader has become the only issue that matters. Yes, Dr. Makoni is speaking about how when Mnangagwa got into power and supposedly launched his new dispensation, it was just a facade.
President Emmerson Mnangagwa for a long time. Why have we gotten to where we are so quickly? There was a time, Simba, why I'm saying that 2 years ago, when people thought things were going to change. I was one of those people. Did we misread Emmerson Mnangagwa, or this is the real Emmerson Mnangagwa?
First, let me say, if it's not impolite, what new dispensation?
Mm-hmm.
There is no new dispensation. Firstly, did we misread? Who we have is Emmerson Mnangagwa. I can't say I know him very well. We served together in cabinet at independence. We served together in the party at various times. But I would be dishonest if I say I know him as well and as closely as I knew other people, or even as I knew President Mugabe, for example, who I said I used to spend a lot of time talking to on a whole range of issues. I didn't have the same relation. We were cordial colleagues in a team. So I can't speak much about his personality, but the character he is displaying as president of Zimbabwe is as I know him.
So nothing surprises you?
Again, I don't want to sound like I said so. When the 18th of November took place, I didn't participate. I had a conversation with Morgan Tsvangirai, and I called Joyce Mujuru as well. And when the inauguration took place on November 24, again I had a call with Morgan Tsvangirai, and I advised that he shouldn't participate in that because I didn't think that this was real change. Trevor, I say this with tongue in cheek because obviously time has passed. But when it happened, and I want to suggest to you, the viewers and listeners who have the opportunity, to go and read General Chiwenga's statement before Asante Sana. And also to read Sbusiso Moyo's statement
announcing
the president is safe. If you read anything in those statements that has anything to do with the condition of life of the people of Zimbabwe, if you see anything that doesn't have to do with power, the power contest between two groups within Zanu PF, then I will come and make a public apology.
That is precisely the point that I think many Zimbabweans have failed to realize. We are looking at a situation here where Emmerson Mnangagwa and his former colleague, Mugabe himself, have been so obsessed about power They didn't care about anything else. The difference between Mugabe and Emmerson Mnangagwa is that as much as Mugabe inherited a prosperous nation whose economy was doing very well, thank you. So to speak, one can say that Mugabe inherited from Ian Smith the 7 fat cows and the 7 fat ears of corn. By the time Mugabe left office in 2017, Mnangagwa inherited from him, if anything at all, one miserable looking cow that could not even get up. And so he has had to accelerate the corruption to generate the wealth to bribe those around him, to retain power, to consolidate his power here, to assure those around him that he can supply them with wealth. And this is why the corruption has gone into overdrive. And the misuse of the wealth has itself also gone into overdrive. There was a recent report saying that Zanu PF got 7 billion from Kudakwashe Takwirei Sakunda as its share of the wealth. But many of us, where did Zanu PF get the money to invest in buying Sakunda shares? The truth of the matter is, those shares are from the state. So resources that should be used for the good of all are now being diverted to solely the use of the party. I've discussed on this platform the Al Jazeera gold mafia, where, according to the documentary, as much as 80% of Zimbabwe's gold per annum is being smuggled. 80% of $2 billion US. That's 1.6 billion US dollars. That should go to the national kitty to pay for expenses, general expenses of the host nation, maintaining good roads, paying doctors and nurses, maintaining buildings, and so forth, is now being siphoned when it goes to these smugglers. Mnangagwa himself was named in that documentary as number 1, and he gets his cut. And so this is some of the money that he's using to buy all this fleet of cars. This week, as we can see lined up there, 102 vehicles for the top brass in the army. The balance is still coming. The total consignment is supposed to be 700. Last week, he gave all the Zanu PF Central Committee members new cars, each one their own car. The week before that, it was another group. It's just endless. And yet, meanwhile, the country is suffering, is sinking deeper and deeper into the abyss because of decades of failure to invest. I'll venture to say that if the money that is being used for this year alone, I believe it would probably have gone a long way to build important investments, infrastructure, like Patoka Gorge. To some who don't know it, Patoka Gorge will be the equivalent of Kariba Dam, and it's between Victoria Falls and Kariba. This project should have been completed soon after independence. In fact, Ian Smith and his regime would have built Patoka Gorge if it had not been for the civil war in the 70s. But when he handed over power to Mugabe, they were given the feasibility studies of Patoka Gorge. And yet now, 45 years down the line, nothing has happened. This is the kind of misrule and misuse of the nation's resources that we have seen first under Mugabe, and now we're seeing it under Mnangagwa. It is widely believed that Mugabe's blue roof, the Gushungo blue roof, costed between 3 to 4 billion US dollars. Enough to have paid for the building of Patoka Gorge. Think of the benefits the country would have gained over the years if we had had 2 Kariba dams to meet our power requirement needs. And now we have Mnangagwa. And now he has gone mental. It is spending money, the nation's wealth, for his own personal needs. Because there is no other explanation why he is spending so much money buying cars for all these top brass in the army, the war veterans, the women's league, and so forth. If these cars that are being bought for the guys, the top brass in the army, were part and parcel of their salary, one would understand. It's not. This is just a bribe over and above whatever they have. I think the people of Zimbabwe have got to finally wake up to the reality that as long as we have got this ZANU-PF regime, the country is going nowhere. The country will continue to sink deeper and deeper into the abyss. I think the nation must be deeply regretting that we had the opportunity to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship during the 2008 to 2013 GNU, and we wasted it. But to end on a positive note, we do have the chance to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship come 2028. We cannot stop ZANU-PF rigging those elections. Between now and 2028, ZANU-PF would never implement any reforms. That is taken for granted. It is not in the nature of ZANU-PF to reform itself out of office. That people can accept. We had the chance to do so during the GNU, we wasted it. So what can we do now? Well, we are lucky in the sense that 2023 elections, we had SADC and the AU election observers. They condemned those elections as flawed. But they could not go the next step and deny ZANU-PF legitimacy because Nelson Chamisa and his Triple C guys conned the people of Zimbabwe to participate in those flawed elections in their millions. Nearly 2 million people voted for Chamisa in 2023. That was a mistake. We have been warned several times that if you participate in the flawed elections, you give the process legitimacy. I think we need to wake up to that reality. You are not going to win an election that ZANU-PF has got carte blanche powers to rig. So the only thing to do is not to participate and deny ZANU-PF legitimacy. It is achievable, and we should go for it. Think about it. Thank you very much, those who were able to join us tonight. Hope you'll be able to do it again tomorrow. Same time, 7 o'clock UK and 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.